After more than a year-long absence, I decided to reinstall Planetside 2 and give it one last good hard look before passing my final judgment. It is with no surprise I can firmly say that Planetside 2 still has all the joy and excitement of accidentally slamming the car door on your genitals. For a game that initially had so much promise and so much opportunity, nothing quite sums up everything wrong with the free-to-play genre as Planetside 2 does. Its predictable and mediocre gameplay meets uninspired cosmetics meets constantly tugging at your sleeve to ask you, hey, would you like to pay some more money for something we initially offered as free? Meets, oh dear God, why is it so poorly optimized? I can't believe I spent years of my life making videos about this game because I thought it was my in for YouTube. Let's look at that first thing I complained about, the gameplay. Planetside 2's gameplay was a little overbroad from the get-go in an attempt to further monetize the game as memberships waned only muddled things even further. While most classes have individual types of weapons they can use with many variants, some of these are only minor side grades where hardly any of the numbers have even been shifted around and you may as well just play the main one. Cause funnily enough, the starting gun for each of the classes is usually the best gun. So why bother buying all those other ones unless you want to keep up with the Joneses in your outfit? There are a few exceptions to this though, like the specialized weapons for the heavies that actually do add a bit of flavor to things. Once you've picked whatever class you play as the most, it's probably going to be heavy because you get that screw you I win button as a shield. You're plopped onto whatever continent that they have unlocked for you because it used to be you could go to all continents, but then they realized they didn't have enough players for that. Then they decided you're going to have to pick between 2 continents, but then they realized they did not have enough players for that. Now you get 1 continent. And sucks for me, the only time I was playing this, I was on Esmir, the continent where you can't play as anything other than infantry if you actually want to have fun. Moving forward, most bases follow the same formula of go to point A, B, or C, hang out for a while, capture points, hang out for a while longer, you get the base, move to next base. You're either attacking or defending, and unlike usual deathmatch or point capture games where the action is quick and fun, there's a lot of standing around in Planetside 2. And it doesn't help that a lot of the guns have a very long time to kill or feel clunky at best. No matter how much I tweak my mouse sensitivity, a lot of the guns just feel like they're maybe an extra 2 or 3 feet longer and made out of Nerf foam with the way they handle. My favorite part about the Infantry Combat and or base taking part of the game is it hasn't changed in the 5 years it's been out, and not in a good way. Sony Online Entertainment and eventually Daybreak tried putting in so many things to shake up the meta. Rocket rifles, building your own base, completely overhauling the way that you are allowed to capture bases adjacent to your others, but it always ends up being a few guys camping in front of a safety shield and no one ever gains an inch. Especially at the biolabs, which were supposed to be crazy fun. Oh yeah, we're jump jetting around on roofs, which if you think about it, you could do at all the other bases anyway. But it pretty much boils down to running out of the shielded area, firing a rocket or shooting your gun, running back in, repeat until you die, and a medic awkwardly revives you only for you to die 2 steps later. As far as the other 2 prongs of the combined iron gameplay Planetside 2 features goes, vehicle combat is basically either grab the Sunder and run to the most inconvenient spot for your fellow players, or get in a tank, hide behind a wall of some sort, poke your head out, shoot, hide behind the wall again, repeat until the other guy is dead. Alternatively, you can be a rocket launcher hero and harass all the tanks, and as far as vehicle to infantry combat goes, unless you're equipping a specialized weapon for anti-infantry purposes, you're really going to have a hard time hitting anything, and you're just better off using the rocket launchers from the infantry side of things. Same goes for anti-air vehicle combat. Unless you've got a Skyguard handy, you're going to have a real hard time. By the way, getting any of these attachments I've mentioned will take a significant amount of grinding if you do not want to pay real-world money. For air combat, you have large multi-person transports that can occasionally shoot something if your people inside the seats are not eating paste. You've got what is basically an attack helicopter, the smaller version of that, which is basically an experienced pinata for the other team, and a specialized air fighter. All of these can attack ground units with relative ease. As far as air-to-air combat goes, do not, ever. Okay? We're done there. Oh, I almost forgot, there are 3 different factions to play from, but it doesn't matter because all the guns are based on mostly stats, so there's minimal difference. But just to break it down, we've got the Nazis that brought too many bullets, the rednecks that brought too many shotguns, and the people who likely wear Hatsune Miku t-shirts out in public unironically. If you're actually decent at shooter games, unlike me, there'll be no difference for you as far as faction choices go. In the beginning of this game, you got a bit of flavor text before literally being dropped out of orbit onto the battlefield, but I don't even think they give you so much as that anymore. And almost all the factions share a pool of premium skins that you can buy that everyone's going to wear anyway, so as far as aesthetic goes, don't bother with that either if that's a thing to you. By the way, how about them cosmetics? Remember giraffe? Remember zebra? Remember when everybody was pink for some reason? This game held on to constantly putting out cosmetic microtransaction items harder than a choir kid clings to their purity ring. And at least the choir kids pretend that thing has meaning. You hardly ever get to look at your own aesthetics anyway, and half of these things just make you a big old target for the enemy team. There was a darker period when there were a lot of samey cosmetics like the previously mentioned pink one, or ones that had a lot of grays or whites in them, and those just made everything really hard for everyone because, God forbid, the camo actually did its job and camouflaged you. We'll have to fix that one. You could also buy guns in Planetside 2 with real money, and so long as they were faction neutral or you made another character of the same faction on a different server, you would have those guns across your entire account. Their reasoning for this was, yes, you can buy the guns, which are pure side grades, but you cannot buy the upgrades for them, which your station cash, daybreak cash, whatever they call it now. But they decided to start selling the attachments anyway. So yes, you could, in theory, just buy the crap out of whatever guns you want to use in stat stack and have everything you need to fight endgame level players at level 1. The transactions in this game also became a massive roadblock to players when the lotted construction system came out. Basically, if you wanted to have any sort of involvement in the construction system, you would either have to have been hoarding the certifications for literally years to get everything you need to build a competent base by yourself, or have about $50 on hand to just buy all that stuff outright. It was a shame too, because that was supposed to breathe life back into the game, but as far as I know, that was the final straw for me and quite a few other people. Even if you do have the membership, which I did have for I think 2 or 3 years, everything requires a crazy grind to get access to. Like, I'm talking a grind where if you wanted a fully loaded out character, everyone's cringing at how much Battlefront 2 Electric Boogaloo EA Edition took for the grind until they backed off. But holy crap, I played this game for about 3.5 years and I still did not get to top rank. Yes, I had most of the things I wanted in the game, but I also ended up spending hundreds of dollars in it too to accentuate that. And now they're saying that there's going to be a prestige system in Planetside 2 that is filled with nothing but bad ideas. Because yes, let's allow the engineer, the class that has the ability to give itself indefinite amounts of ammo, to have the light machine guns, the guns with the most bullets and the most killing power compared to others by bullets alone. Great idea. While we're at it, let's give the stealth class, who originally had submachine guns and snipers, which weren't too much of a problem because you either had to wait very carefully for the right shot, or be very opportunistic with your dinky little SMG bullets, let's give them assault carbines. Yeah, that's a totally good idea. This is obviously geared more towards the few veterans that are still hanging out on Planetside 2, as this does no favors for new players wondering why the heavy weapons guy has 2 heavy weapons now. And to be fair, I tried to delve into improving the new player experience too by actually asking the new players what would make it a little more accessible. And that went horribly. I can't help but feel though that this is maybe 2 or even 3 years too late, as probably there's a lot of bitter vets, as they call themselves, wondering, wait, you're giving this to me now after all these years? Which sure, they'll probably have the certs handy if they kept on playing regularly, but really, that would have been handy to have a while back where you could actually work at it. This just adds even more grind to the Mount Everest level grind. If you haven't picked up on it already from the previous parts of this review, if we're calling it a review, this game is the grindiest of the grindy. This game is more grindy than Clicker Heroes. This game is more grindy than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This game is more grindy than your favorite JRPG. This game is more grindy than those friggin' dances you went to outside of school and high school that were basically just softcore clubs for tykes. This is in part because unless you play very specific styles of Planetside 2, you're not going to be getting very many certs. For instance, kill streaks, lots of certs. Team playing and capturing bases, leading squads like I did. Not a lot of certs. Aside from being a medic spamming resurrections through grenades and an upgraded medic gun, pretty much all the support roles got next to no certifications or experience for what they did, even though that pretty much all the other people required them to do what they were doing if anyone was going to get any certs. For instance, there was a hard cap on how much experience you could receive by deploying a Sunderer, an ammo pack, or otherwise doing repair stuff. However, you were never sanctioned for just sitting on a hill somewhere headshotting people that had no idea what was going on. This enormous grind is further exacerbated by the latency issues of this game and the optimization, which is to say, this game runs like Jeb Bush. It's a shame too because there have been multiple attempts in the past to try and make this game run a little smoother, including pretty much the complete erasure of the color design and aesthetic that the game's original designer T-Ray had so painstakingly made. Originally I was kind of at odds with him because he seemed headstrong about it, but looking back, that really must have sucked, putting all that work in and being a renowned designer who had worked on big titles like the original Fallout games, and then being told, yeah, sorry, we can't design an engine for crap for this kind of thing, so we're just gonna strip out pretty much everything you did. And it didn't work anyway. It doesn't help either that most of these things were probably ineffectual attempts, because if you know Sony/Daybreak Games, they have a bad habit of shifting all their talent onto one game that is doing slightly better than the others, which was evidenced when Planetside 2 originally had all the talent. Then, when they decided to make another EverQuest game, everyone got shifted over there, and finally when H1Z1 got lucky and stumbled upon the Battle Royale genre before everyone else, everyone went over to H1Z1. While I can't say I'm familiar with how game devs do things or how teams run projects, I can't help but think that that's really counterproductive to getting familiar with a project and knowing what exactly is going on and where they are if you keep on shuffling everyone around before they get too used to everything. But I've beat this dead horse enough. Let's actually give this game a score. Alright, so I pretty much ripped off Doug DeMuro's thing and decided that each major facet of a game is going to contribute to an overall score out of 100. However, in the interest of not wasting everyone's time, I will not apply this cleverly devised scoring method to Planetside 2, as I feel it does not deserve it. I give Planetside 2 one sweaty stained bandana out of 100. Happy April Fools, everyone.